So this is going to be a quick run through of the Game Cards app to get you started as quickly as possible. So we load the web app up in a browser and this is what we see straight away. And just quickly, the app is for creating tasks and challenges, generally with the players of sports or games. But as we'll see in one example I'll talk about in a bit, it doesn't just have to be for players. So it tells us that we can click on the right or tap the right to see the first card, but we don't have any cards at the moment. So the first thing we want to do is create a card, and we're going to do that. I'm going to call it on target. And the task or challenge is to shoot accurately a goal 3 times in a row. So this is a pretty generic one. Could apply to football, netball, basketball, Aussie rules, rugby, conversion kicking, for example, hockey, any essentially team invasion-based sport with a goal. And we have 2 ways we can add an image in or an icon for the card. We can use a link to an image that's somewhere online, or we can select it from our device or computer. I'm going to, for starters, use a link here. So we set that, and now we're pretty much done. So we save that, and now we can see this is what our card looks like. We can now click the top left at any time to go back to our top card in the deck, which is the main menu essentially. And now we see we have 1 card there. So if we now tap or click on the right, and we're taken to our on target card. Right, let's create another one. Let's call this Super Screener. This one might be more of a sport-specific example for basketball, for example. And we're going to say here, during a scrimmage in training, if you can set a screen or a pick that results in an open shot for your teammate, then you have achieved that challenge. And again, we're going to use a link to an external image, this time rather than an icon. It actually is a photo of Draymond setting a screen for Steph. Save that. Okay, so we've now got 2 cards in our deck. Most recent is always going to be on the top, so we've got our Super Screener game card, our on target, and here, and we're going to create one more. As I said, it doesn't always have to be for players. So let's create one where the game, if you like, is the game of coaching, and the challenge or task for a coach might be to have a conversation with one of your players about something happening in their life away from sport. And this time we're actually going to choose a file on our local file system, which I've got here. So I've inserted that, and that can be up to 500 kilobytes, half a meg. And so we're all good, and we save that. And now we've got a different type of game card, if you like, that's more related to the coach and their development rather than the players. So if we scroll through, we now have 3 cards. So that's all good. We can shuffle them, so we'll now get them in a different order potentially. If I turn off shuffle and shuffle again, we should have, a different card comes up first. So that's a way of shuffling or generating a random card. We can also filter, so if we want those one about relationships, maybe we had multiple cards over time, and now we've just got the 1 card there, okay, in the deck. So we can filter by title or description. If you end up collaborating, you can just show your cards as well. So you can use these cards at any time with your players, as I said, as well with coaches and others. And you can obviously easily create them on the fly. You can edit them at any time and go back in and delete them too. Pretty straightforward stuff. And as I said, top left takes you back home. Now, what about if we want to, I guess, track who's actually completing these tasks and challenges? So that's the second main aspect of this, is creating these cards and then the ability to award them to players or really any people that accept the task or the challenge. So if we go in here into our players list, at the moment we don't have any players, so we're going to add quickly some players. We're going to add something called Draymond. all we need is their name. We're going to add someone called Steph. And we'll add another third person here, not necessarily a player, called Pep. Okay, so we've got 3 people or players now in our player list, which means when we come back to our cards, and we might have used this card with a coach in terms of coach development, we can now award that to the person involved. And so we're going to award that card to Pep. Award, and as soon as we've done that, you can see for the card, we've got the history of who's been awarded that card, so just Pep at the moment. We're similar, go back, and it might have been the super screener that Draymond was effective in doing that. We're going to award Draymond that card for that effort. It might have been that Steph Curry was on target 3 times in a row, pretty likely for him. But actually also, let's say Draymond unusually was also able to hit 3 shots in a row during a scrimmage, so we're going to award him as well. So we've got Steph and Draymond now awarded that card. So that means as well, when we're now in our players, we see the 3 players or people we created. If we click here on the little ribbon or award icon, we can see what cards players have been awarded. So Draymond's actually got the 2, and it will order them by most recently awarded. So he's got the on target and the super screener. Steph has got the on target. If we click the details, it gives us what the actual task or challenge was, if we can't remember. And Pep, of course, got the real relationships card. So that can become a really powerful way of starting to have some fun with players or people in terms of awarding those cards, but also tracking technical and tactical development, psychosocial development, etc., etc. There's really no limits to the way then you can start to design and categorize and come up with frameworks for tracking player development in a more serious way, and for the players to do that themselves. So you can use it completely for a heap of fun and make up some really probably amusing cards and challenges at times, or you can use it in a more deliberate and purposeful way for player and skill development.